The University of Southampton was one of FutureLearn's initial partners, and our course on web science ran for the first time in November 2013. Analysis of the learner data and comments indicated that the use of mathematics presented a significant barrier to many learners and led to some of them quitting the course. This was a challenge since several activities in our next course, Exploring Our Oceans, required learners to carry out calculations. For example, a step in week 2, How much water is there on Earth, presented learners with the data and formulae they needed to calculate the answer to these 3 questions. We knew that many learners would not have the GCSE level math skills required, so I used PowerPoint to create a set of 4 slides that showed the answers to these questions using diagrams and visual analogies that any learner could understand and remember. These slides made use of design principles outlined by Richard E. Mayer in his influential book Multimedia Learning and Linda Law's Creating Graphics for Learning and Performance. The calculated uniform ocean depth is 3,743 metres, which I compared to the 3,776 metre height of Mount Fuji in Japan, so as deep as a mountain. Note how the size of the photo matches the depth arrow. I also added the average height of the land, 840 metres, to the diagram for comparison, and made sure it was in scale with the depth. The arrows are pink so that they stand out, and their directions reinforce the message of height and depth. The ratio of average ocean depth to the Earth's radius is 1/1700th, which I compared to a sheet of office paper wrapped around a football. Both of these are familiar objects, which most learners would have personal physical experience of, so the analogy can be readily imagined. The drop shadow under the ball adds depth and solidity. The radius of the ball of water would be just over 1/10 of the radius of Earth, so about the same size as a pea compared to an orange. Again, both of these are familiar objects, so the analogy is strong. Note that the orange has exactly the same size and position on the slide as the football, to emphasise that it stands for the same thing, the Earth. The final slide aimed to show that ball of water in context against a view of the Earth from space. I found a suitable stock illustration and edited it using Photoshop. The oceans and lakes were coloured brown to show them empty of water, and I added a suitably scaled blue sphere with shading, highlights and drop shadow to show it floating above North America. I also created another document which worked through the calculations step by step, so those who wanted to see how the answers were calculated, or check their own workings, could do so. Feedback from the learners in the comments on the step was extremely positive. There were 133 comments in total from the 2,750 learners who visited that step. 33 learners mentioned that they liked the visual representation of the answers, and 11 of them also mentioned that they were bad at maths. In total, 20 learners stated that they were bad at maths, while 21 learners stated that they enjoyed the calculations, showing the diversity of learners that need to be designed for. Here is a selection of their comments. The primary learning outcome for this step was for learners to understand 2 apparently contradictory facts: how much water is in the ocean and how little that is compared to the size of the Earth. While you were watching this video, you saw the numbers on the screen: the average depth of the oceans, the ratio of that to the radius of the Earth, and the size of the water if it was gathered into a ball. Can you remember those figures now? I suspect that for most of you the answer is no, but I bet you can remember the analogies I use to represent them, and that is the power of carefully designed multimedia learning.